I'm Amanda Torres, 38, a registered nurse from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'll never forget the moment my sister handed my 9-year-old daughter a plastic basket of crayons while her own 3 kids devoured lobster tails at a $200 per plate restaurant. The birthday party invitation said family celebration, but what I didn't know was that my daughter wasn't considered family enough. What happened next didn't just break our relationship. It exposed a decade of lies, shattered my sister's perfect image, and taught her a lesson she'll carry for the rest of her life. If you've ever been treated like you don't matter by the people who were supposed to love you most, this story is for you. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, like, and turn on the notification bell because what I'm about to share will make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty. Drop a comment below if you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for yourself. Now let me take you back to where this all started. Growing up, my sister Vanessa and I were nothing alike. She was 3 years older, always dressed perfectly, always saying the right things to make our parents smile. I was the messy one, the one who came home with scraped knees and dirt under her fingernails. Our parents ran a small accounting firm in Phoenix, and from the time we were kids, it was clear Vanessa was being groomed to take over. She studied business, married a successful real estate developer named Kyle, and had 3 picture-perfect children. Owen, 11, Harper, 9, and little Blake, 6. Me. I became a nurse. I married my high school sweetheart, James, who worked as a mechanic. We had one daughter, Lily, who just turned 9 that summer. We lived in a small 3-bedroom house 20 minutes from the hospital where I worked night shifts. Our life wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. James and I paid our bills on time, packed Lily's lunch every morning, and made sure she had everything she needed. We didn't have a pool or a vacation home in Sedona like Vanessa did, but we had love. Or at least I thought we had family love too. The problems started small. Family dinners where Vanessa would make little comments about my scrubs, asking if I ever wore real clothes. Christmas mornings where her kids opened piles of expensive gifts while Lily got 1 or 2 modest presents from us, and Vanessa would smile sympathetically saying, "It's the thought that counts, right?" At first I brushed it off. Vanessa had always been competitive, but as the years went on, the digs got sharper. Then came Harper's 9th birthday party. The invitation arrived in the mail, a thick cream-colored card with gold-embossed lettering. "You're invited to celebrate Harper's 9th birthday at Marcello's Italian Steakhouse. Family celebration. Dinner at 6 p.m. Lily was so excited when she saw it. She and Harper were the same age, and despite Vanessa's attitude, the girls actually got along well. Lily spent the whole week picking out an outfit, a purple dress with flowers that she'd been saving for something special. The morning of the party, I worked a 12-hour shift at the hospital. My feet ached, my back was sore, but I rushed home, showered, changed into a simple black dress and got Lily ready. James couldn't make it. His boss had called him in for an emergency repair job, and we needed the overtime pay. So it was just me and Lily, pulling up to Marcello's at 5:55 p.m., right on time. The restaurant was one of those upscale places with dim lighting, white tablecloths, and a sommelier who walked around offering wine pairings. The kind of place where you felt underdressed even if you weren't. I held Lily's hand as we walked inside, and the hostess led us to a private dining room in the back. The table was set for 12 people, decorated with white roses and gold ribbons. Vanessa stood at the head of the table in a designer dress, her hair perfectly curled, her smile wide as she greeted guests. "Amanda, you made it," she said, her voice bright but her eyes cold. She hugged me quickly, barely touching me, then bent down to Lily. "And there's my little niece. Don't you look sweet?" Lily beamed, holding out the gift we'd brought, a craft kit Harper had mentioned wanting. Vanessa took it without looking, setting it on a side table with the other presents. "How thoughtful," she said, already turning away to greet someone else. I felt the first prick of unease then, but I pushed it down. This was Harper's day. I wasn't going to let my insecurities ruin it. We took our seats. The table filled up quickly. My parents sat near Vanessa, laughing at something Kyle said. Vanessa's in-laws were there, dressed in expensive suits and jewelry. A few of Kyle's business partners and their families rounded out the group. I noticed immediately that Lily and I were seated at the far end of the table, away from everyone else. Lily didn't seem to mind. She colored on the paper placemat with the crayons the restaurant provided, humming softly to herself. Then the waiter came around taking orders. I watched as Vanessa ordered for her kids, Filet mignon for Owen, lobster tail for Harper, and chicken parmesan for Blake. My parents ordered steaks. Kyle's business partners ordered surf and turf. The prices on the menu made my stomach turn. Entrees started at $45 and went up from there. When the waiter reached me, I hesitated. "I'll have the grilled chicken," I said, picking the cheapest thing I could find that didn't look embarrassing. "And for my daughter." "Oh, we already ordered for the kids," Vanessa interrupted from across the table, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "We have a set menu for the children." I blinked, confused. "Okay, that's fine. What's on it?" Vanessa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You'll see." I should have pressed her then. I should have asked what she meant. But I didn't want to make a scene, especially not in front of all these people. So I nodded and the waiter moved on. The food came out in waves. First, appetizers. Calamari, bruschetta, stuffed mushrooms. Plates were set in front of every adult and child at the table. Except Lily. I looked around, waiting, assuming hers was coming. But as everyone started eating, no plate appeared. "Excuse me," I said, flagging down a waiter. "My daughter didn't get an appetizer." The waiter looked confused, checking his notes. "I'll check with the kitchen, ma'am." He disappeared and I felt my cheeks burn. Across the table, Vanessa was laughing at something Kyle's father said, completely oblivious or pretending to be. Lily tugged on my sleeve. "Mom, it's okay," she whispered. "I'm not that hungry yet." But I could see the way she looked at Harper's plate, piled high with calamari and breadsticks. My chest tightened. The waiter returned a few minutes later, shaking his head. "I'm sorry, ma'am. There's no appetizer listed for that seat. Would you like to order something separately?" Separately. Meaning I'd have to pay for it myself. I glanced at the appetizer prices. $18 for calamari. My jaw clenched. "No, it's fine," I said quietly. "She'll wait for the main course." The main courses arrived next, and that's when everything fell apart. Plates of steak, lobster, pasta, and fish were set in front of every single person at the table. Owen cut into his filet mignon. Harper squealed with delight over her lobster tail. Blake twirled his pasta like he was in a cooking show. My parents ate their steaks, chatting with Vanessa about the new addition they were planning for her house. And then the waiter approached Lily. He set down a plastic basket. Inside were 3 chicken tenders, a small pile of fries, and a juice box. The kind of meal you'd get at a fast food restaurant for $5. Lily stared at it, her face flushing red. Around the table, conversations continued. No one seemed to notice or care. Except me. My vision tunneled. My hands started shaking. "Excuse me," I said, my voice louder than I intended. "What is this?" The waiter looked uncomfortable. "The children's basket, ma'am. It was pre-ordered." I looked at Vanessa. She was cutting into her steak, not looking at me. "Vanessa," I said, my voice tight. "Why does my daughter have chicken tenders while your kids have lobster?" The table went quiet. All eyes turned to us. Vanessa set down her fork slowly, sighing like I was being unreasonable. "Amanda, we didn't order a full meal for Lily," she said, her tone measured, like she was explaining something to a child. "We have a budget for these things and we didn't want to assume you'd want us to cover her meal. We thought the basket would be enough." Her words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. My face burned with humiliation. "You invited us to a family birthday party," I said, my voice shaking. "You didn't think to mention that my daughter wouldn't be eating the same food as everyone else?" Vanessa's smile was thin. "We're feeding 12 people tonight, Amanda. We can't accommodate everyone's expectations." Accommodate. Like my daughter was an inconvenience. Like asking for her to be treated equally was asking too much. I looked at my parents. They avoided my eyes, suddenly very interested in their plates. Kyle shrugged, uncomfortable but silent. No one said a word. Lily's eyes filled with tears. She pushed the basket away, her hands trembling. "I'm not hungry," she whispered. That's when something inside me snapped. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "We're leaving," I said, my voice cold. Vanessa's eyes widened. "Amanda, don't be dramatic." Dramatic. I cut her off, my voice rising. "You humiliated my daughter in front of everyone because you couldn't be bothered to treat her like family. We're done here." I grabbed Lily's hand and we walked out of that restaurant, every eye in the room on us. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely fish my keys out of my purse. Lily cried the whole drive home and I felt like the worst mother in the world for not protecting her from that. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision. Vanessa had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The days after Harper's birthday party were some of the hardest of my life. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that plastic basket sitting in front of my daughter while Vanessa's kids ate like royalty. I saw the way no one defended us. Not my parents or Kyle. James tried to comfort me. "They're not worth it," he said one night as I stared at the ceiling. "We know who we are. We know what we provide for Lily. That's what matters." But it wasn't enough. Because Lily was hurting too. She started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. "Mom, why doesn't Aunt Vanessa like me? Did I do something wrong? Are we poor?" That last one broke me. We weren't poor. We worked hard. We paid our bills. But in Vanessa's world, we might as well have been invisible. I called my mother 2 days after the party. I needed to hear her say something, anything to acknowledge what had happened. She answered on the third ring, her voice cheerful. "Amanda. How are you, sweetheart?" "How am I?" I repeated, my voice tight. "Mom, did you see what Vanessa did at Harper's party?" There was a pause. Then carefully, "I think there was just a misunderstanding, honey. Vanessa didn't mean anything by it. She gave Lily chicken tenders in a basket while everyone else ate $200 worth of food," I said, my voice rising. "How is that a misunderstanding?" "Well," my mother said slowly, "Vanessa was trying to be considerate of your budget. She didn't want to put you in an awkward position by making you feel like you had to pay for an expensive meal." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "She invited us, Mom. She didn't say anything about us paying. She humiliated my daughter in front of the entire family." "I think you're overreacting," my mother said, her tone turning cold. "Vanessa throws these big events and she can't be expected to cover everyone's meals every single time. You need to be more understanding." Understanding. The word echoed in my head long after I hung up. My own mother was taking Vanessa's side. I tried reaching out to my father next. He was gentler but no less disappointing. "Your sister has a lot on her plate," he said. "Running the business, raising 3 kids. Cut her some slack. Cut her some slack." Meanwhile, I worked 12-hour shifts on my feet, came home to cook dinner, helped Lily with homework, and somehow managed to keep our small family afloat. But none of that mattered. The isolation was suffocating. I started avoiding family group texts. When Vanessa posted photos from Harper's party on social media, carefully cropped to exclude me and Lily, I didn't comment. I didn't react. I just watched as everyone gushed over what a perfect party it was. But inside I was planning. It started small. I began documenting everything. I screenshotted Vanessa's social media posts, her captions about family first and blessed beyond measure. I saved the invitation to Harper's party, the one that said family celebration, with no mention of a budget or separate kids' meals. I wrote down every memory I could recall of being treated as less than. The Christmas mornings, the snide comments, the times I was left out of family decisions. James noticed me staying up late on my laptop. "What are you doing?" he asked one night, leaning over my shoulder. "Research," I said simply. He didn't push, but I could see the worry in his eyes. The truth was, I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet. I just knew I couldn't let this go. Vanessa had built her entire identity on being the perfect daughter, the perfect mother, the perfect businesswoman. She presented herself as generous and family-oriented, always posting about giving back and supporting loved ones. But I knew the truth, and I was going to make sure everyone else did too. The turning point came 3 weeks after the party. Vanessa called me out of nowhere, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Amanda, hi. I wanted to check in. You've been so quiet lately." I gripped the phone tighter. "What do you want, Vanessa?" "I just thought maybe we should clear the air," she said. "I know you were upset about Harper's party, but I think you misunderstood my intentions." "Misunderstood?" I repeated flatly. "Yes. I was trying to be thoughtful about your situation. I didn't want you to feel pressured to spend money you don't have." "My situation? Like I was a charity case." "You could have told me ahead of time," I said, my voice cold. "You could have said, hey, we're only covering meals for our immediate family." But you didn't. You let me and Lily show up, and then you humiliated her in front of everyone. Vanessa sighed like I was exhausting her. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm not going to apologize for being practical. If you can't afford to keep up, that's not my fault. And there was the truth beneath all the fake politeness. In Vanessa's eyes, I was less than. And she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. You're right, I said quietly. It's not your fault. But it's not mine either. I hung up before she could respond. That night I finalized my plan. The plan came together piece by piece, like a puzzle I'd been unconsciously assembling for weeks. I wasn't interested in petty revenge. I wasn't going to slash her tires or post angry rants on social media. That wasn't enough. What Vanessa had done went deeper than one humiliating dinner. She'd spent years building an image of herself as a generous, family-first person while treating me and Lily like we were beneath her. I was going to dismantle that image brick by carefully placed brick. First, I needed information. I started by reaching out to people Vanessa had wronged over the years, people I'd watched her dismiss or belittle at family gatherings. There was my cousin Angela, who Vanessa had publicly criticized for gaining weight after her second pregnancy. There was James's sister, Kelly, who Vanessa had forgotten to invite to Owen's communion party 3 years ago. And there was Bethany, a former friend of Vanessa's from college, who I'd stayed in touch with on social media. I sent each of them a simple message. Hey, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to ask you something about Vanessa. Can we talk? Angela responded within an hour. I've been waiting for someone to ask, she wrote. We met for coffee 2 days later at a small cafe near the hospital. He brought a folder. I've been keeping receipts, she said, sliding it across the table. Inside were printed screenshots of text messages, social media posts, even a few emails. After she told everyone at Christmas that I let myself go, I started documenting every nasty thing she said to me. I didn't know what I'd do with it, but I knew I'd need it someday. I flipped through the pages, my heart racing. There were messages where Vanessa mocked Angela's clothes, her house, even her kids' school performance. There were photos from family events where Angela was cropped out or pushed to the edge of the frame. It was a pattern, the same pattern she'd used with me. Why didn't you ever say anything? I asked. Angela shrugged, her eyes sad. Because she's Vanessa. Everyone loves her. Who's going to believe me over her? I believe you, I said. And I'm going to make sure everyone else does too. Kelly gave me something even better. Financial records. Vanessa had borrowed $3,000 from Kelly 2 years ago to cover some unexpected business expenses. She'd promised to pay it back within 6 months. He never did. When Kelly asked about it, Vanessa brushed her off, saying she didn't remember agreeing to that timeline. Kelly had kept every text message, every email, every broken promise. I wrote it off, Kelly told me over the phone. It wasn't worth the family drama. But if you're doing what I think you're doing, I want in. Bethany's story was the most damning. She and Vanessa had been close friends in college, but they'd had a falling out 5 years ago over a business deal. Vanessa had convinced Bethany to invest in a sure-thing real estate project Kyle was working on. Bethany had put in $10,000, her entire savings at the time. The project fell through and Vanessa and Kyle never paid her back. Worse, Vanessa had ghosted her completely, blocking her number and unfriending her on social media. I tried to take them to small claims court, Bethany told me when we met for lunch. But Kyle's lawyer tied it up in so much legal red tape that I couldn't afford to keep fighting. I lost everything. Do you have proof? I asked. She nodded, pulling out a thick binder. Every contract, every email, every text message. I've been holding on to this for 5 years, hoping I'd get a chance to use it. Consider this your chance, I said. With all this information in hand, I started building my case. I created a private document, a detailed timeline of Vanessa's behavior over the past 10 years. Every cruel comment, every broken promise, every person she'd hurt. I included screenshots, photos, and written testimonies from Angela, Kelly, and Bethany. I even included financial records showing how much money Vanessa and Kyle had borrowed from family members over the years and never repaid, including $5,000 they'd borrowed from my parents to help with cash flow during a rough business quarter. But I needed something bigger, something public. I needed an event where Vanessa's image would be front and center, where exposing the truth would have the maximum impact. And then, like a gift from the universe, the opportunity arrived. My mother called me one evening, her voice bright with excitement. Amanda, I have wonderful news. Your father and I are renewing our vows for our 40th wedding anniversary, and we're throwing a big celebration. Vanessa's helping us plan it. It's going to be at the country club and we're inviting everyone. Family, friends, business associates. We want you and James and Lily there. My heart started pounding. When is it? 6 weeks from now. I'll send you the details. Oh, and Vanessa's giving a speech about family and love. Isn't that sweet? A speech. About family and love. From Vanessa. That sounds perfect, Mom, I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. We wouldn't miss it. The moment I hung up, I started working. 6 weeks wasn't much time, but it was enough. I coordinated with Angela, Kelly, and Bethany. We met twice a week at my house after Lily went to bed, refining our plan. Angela suggested we create a slideshow, something that could be played during the reception. Kelly proposed we each give testimonies, short statements about our experiences with Vanessa. Bethany wanted to confront Vanessa directly, but I talked her down. This isn't about confrontation, I said. It's about exposure. We let the truth speak for itself. I spent hours editing the slideshow, carefully selecting screenshots, photos, and messages. I set them to music, a soft instrumental track that made the whole thing feel almost documentary style. I included text overlays quoting Vanessa's own words, family first. Blessed beyond measure. Always there for the people I love. And then I juxtaposed those quotes with the evidence. The text messages where she mocked Angela. The emails where she refused to pay Kelly back. The contracts Bethany had signed with Vanessa's signature right there in black and white. James watched me work one night, his arms crossed. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. I looked up at him, my eyes tired but determined. She humiliated our daughter, James. She's been doing this to people for years and no one's ever called her out because everyone's too afraid of rocking the boat. I'm done being afraid. He nodded slowly. Hey, then let's make sure you do this right. The final piece of the plan was the hardest. I had to act normal. For 6 weeks I had to pretend everything was fine. I responded to my mother's texts about the party. I liked Vanessa's social media posts. I even sent her a message congratulating her on being asked to give the speech. I'm so proud of you, I wrote. You're going to do great. She responded with a string of heart emojis. It made me sick, but I kept going. Because I knew that in 6 weeks at that country club, in front of everyone who mattered to Vanessa, the truth was going to come out. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. The night before the vow renewal I barely slept. I went over the plan 100 times in my head. Angela, Kelly, and Bethany would arrive separately, blending in with the other guests. I'd volunteer to help with the AV setup, offering to play the slideshow my parents had requested, a montage of their 40 years together. Except I'd swap the USB drives at the last minute. My slideshow would play instead. James found me at 2 a.m. sitting at the kitchen table staring at my laptop. You're going to make yourself sick, he said gently, sitting down next to me. I just keep thinking, what if it doesn't work? What if people don't care? What if they take her side anyway? He took my hand. Then at least you'll know you tried. At least Lily will know her mother stood up for her. That was all I needed to hear. The next morning I put on my best dress, did my hair and makeup, and drove to the country club with James and Lily. My hands were shaking the entire way there, but my mind was clear. This was it. Vanessa was about to learn that actions have consequences. And I was about to take back every ounce of dignity she tried to steal from me. The country club was decorated like something out of a magazine. White flowers everywhere, string lights draped across the ceiling, tables set with gold-rimmed china. My parents stood at the entrance greeting guests, both of them glowing with happiness. My mother hugged me tight when we arrived. Oh, Amanda, I'm so glad you're here, she said, her eyes misty. This is such a special day. I hugged her back, feeling a pang of guilt. This wasn't about hurting my parents. But they'd enabled Vanessa for so long, looked the other way while she hurt people. They needed to see the truth too. Vanessa was holding court near the bar, surrounded by friends and family, laughing at something Kyle said. She wore a pale pink dress that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Her hair was styled in perfect waves, her makeup flawless. She looked like the picture of grace and elegance. She saw me across the room and waved, her smile wide and fake. I waved back, matching her energy. Showtime, James whispered next to me. I found the AV tech near the stage, a young guy in his 20s fiddling with cables. "Hi, I'm Amanda, the bride's daughter," I said, flashing my warmest smile. "My mom asked me to help with the slideshow. Do you need a hand?" He looked relieved. "Actually, yeah. I'm having trouble getting the laptop to connect to the projector. Do you know anything about this stuff?" "A little," I lied. "Let me take a look." He stepped aside and I bent down, pretending to adjust cables while I subtly swapped the USB drive in the laptop. My heart was hammering so hard I thought he'd hear it. But he was too focused on his phone to notice. "Try it now," I said, standing up. He clicked a button and the projector flickered to life, displaying the desktop. "Perfect. Thanks." "No problem," I said, walking away before my nerves could give me away. I found Angela, Kelly, and Bethany scattered throughout the crowd. Angela gave me a subtle nod. Kelly raised her glass slightly. Bethany's jaw was tight, but she looked ready. The ceremony itself was beautiful. My parents stood at the altar, renewing their vows in front of 150 guests. My mother cried. My father's voice cracked with emotion. For a moment I felt the guilt creep back in. But then I saw Vanessa in the front row, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, playing the role of the devoted daughter. And I remembered why I was doing this. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the reception hall for dinner. The tables were arranged in a large circle around a dance floor, with a stage at one end for speeches. Vanessa was scheduled to speak right after dinner, before the cake cutting. I picked at my food, too anxious to eat. Lily sat next to me, chatting with a cousin she hadn't seen in months. James kept his hand on my knee under the table, steadying me. Finally, the moment arrived. My father stood up, clinking his glass with a fork. "Thank you all so much for being here to celebrate this milestone with us," he said, his voice warm. "Before we cut the cake, my daughter Vanessa has prepared something special." "Vanessa." The room erupted in applause. Vanessa stood, smoothing her dress, and walked to the stage. She took the microphone, her smile radiant. "Thank you, Dad," she said, her voice smooth and practiced. "I wanted to take a moment to talk about what family means to me." I felt my stomach twist. "Here it comes. Growing up, my parents taught me that family is everything," Vanessa continued. "They taught me to be generous, to support the people I love, and to always put family first. And I've tried to live by those values every single day." She paused, letting the words sink in. The room was silent, everyone hanging on her every word. "I'm so grateful for the family I've built with Kyle and our 3 beautiful children. And I'm grateful for the family I grew up in, for my parents who have shown me what true love looks like, and for my sister Amanda who—" "Actually, Vanessa, before you finish," I said, standing up. My voice was steady but loud enough to carry across the room. "I think everyone here should see something first." The room went dead silent. All eyes turned to me. Vanessa's smile froze, her eyes narrowing in confusion. "Amanda, what are you—" My mother started, but I was already walking toward the AV tech. "Can you play the slideshow now?" I asked him. "The one on the laptop?" He looked confused, glancing at my parents. My father nodded slowly, probably thinking it was part of the plan. The lights dimmed. The projector flickered on. And my slideshow began to play. The first slide was a photo of Vanessa at a family Christmas party, smiling with her arm around my mother. The caption read, "Family First." The second slide was a screenshot of a text message Vanessa had sent to Angela. "Honestly, I don't know how you let yourself get that big. Have some self-respect." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Vanessa's face went white. The third slide was another photo of Vanessa, this time at a charity event. The caption read, "Blessed beyond measure." The fourth slide was an email from Vanessa to Kelly. "I don't remember agreeing to pay you back by a specific date. You need to stop harassing me about this." The murmurs grew louder. People were pulling out their phones, taking photos of the screen. Vanessa stepped toward the stage, her voice shrill. "Turn it off. Turn it off right now." But the slideshow kept playing. The fifth slide was a photo of Vanessa's family at Harper's birthday party, the one where Lily had been given the basket. The caption read, "Always there for the people I love." The sixth slide was a photo I'd taken that night, zoomed in on the plastic basket sitting in front of Lily while Harper's lobster tail sat in the background. The room exploded. People were talking over each other, pointing at the screen. My mother stood up, her face pale. My father looked stunned. "This is ridiculous." Vanessa shouted, her voice cracking. This is a lie. She's making this up. Am I? I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. I walked to the front of the room holding up my phone. Because I have text messages. I have emails. I have financial records. And I have 3 people here tonight who are willing to testify about what you've done to them. Angela stood up first. She told me I was disgusting for gaining weight after I had my baby. Kelly stood next. She borrowed $3,000 from me and never paid it back. Bethany stood last, her voice shaking but firm. She and her husband stole $10,000 from me and left me with nothing. The room was in chaos now. People were shouting questions. Vanessa's friends were whispering to each other, their faces shocked. Kyle had gone pale, his jaw clenched. Vanessa turned to my parents, her eyes wild. Mom, Dad, you can't believe this. She's lying. She's jealous because I'm successful and she's not. My mother looked at me, her eyes filled with confusion and pain. Amanda, is this true? I met her gaze, my voice steady. The final slide appeared on the screen. It was a photo of Lily from Harper's birthday party, her face streaked with tears. The caption read, "This is what family first looks like to Vanessa." The room fell silent. Vanessa's face crumpled. She looked around wildly, but no one would meet her eyes. Even Kyle had turned away, his hand over his mouth. I think we're done here, I said quietly, walking back to my table. I picked up my purse, took Lily's hand and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice, shaking with anger. Vanessa, is this true? Did you really do this to your sister's daughter? I didn't stay to hear Vanessa's response. I didn't need to. As James, Lily and I walked out of the country club into the cool night air, I felt lighter than I had in years. The fallout was immediate and brutal. By the next morning, my phone was flooded with messages. Some were supportive, from cousins and old friends who said they'd always known Vanessa was fake. Others were angry, accusing me of ruining my parents' special day. My mother called me 3 times before I finally answered. How could you do that? She said, her voice thick with tears. You humiliated your sister in front of everyone. You ruined our vow renewal. She humiliated my daughter first, I said calmly. And she's been doing it to other people for years. Someone had to stop her. But did it have to be like this? Did you have to air all of our family's dirty laundry in public? Yes, I said. Because if I'd done it privately, you would have swept it under the rug like you always do. Vanessa needed to face consequences, and you needed to see who she really is. My mother hung up without another word. My father called next. His voice was quieter, more measured. I don't agree with how you handled this, Amanda, he said. But after talking to Angela, Kelly and Bethany, I can't deny that Vanessa's behavior has been troubling. Troubling, I repeated. Dad, she's been emotionally and financially abusing people for years. He sighed. I know. Your mother and I are going to have a serious conversation with her. And with Kyle. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Vanessa herself didn't contact me. But I heard through the grapevine that she deactivated all her social media accounts. Apparently, the slideshow had been recorded by multiple guests and shared online. It had gone semi-viral in our local community, with people commenting on the hypocrisy of her family-first image. Kyle's business took a hit too. Several of his clients pulled out of deals, not wanting to be associated with the controversy. Bethany even reopened her small claims case, and this time with public pressure mounting, Kyle's lawyer advised him to settle. 3 weeks after the vow renewal, my mother called again. Her voice was softer this time. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, she began. And about what Angela and Kelly told me. You were right. We enabled Vanessa. We looked the other way because it was easier than confronting her. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry we didn't protect you and Lily the way we should have. My throat tightened. Thank you, Mom. I'd like to take Lily out for ice cream this weekend, she said. Just the 2 of us. I want to apologize to her properly. She'd like that, I said. It wasn't a full reconciliation. It would take time to rebuild trust. But it was a start. 6 months have passed since that night at the country club. Vanessa and I don't speak. I've heard she's in therapy, which I genuinely hope helps her. Kyle's business has slowly recovered, though their reputation took a permanent hit. My parents are trying to rebuild relationships with both of us, though I think they're finally starting to see Vanessa for who she really is. As for me, James and Lily were doing better than ever. Lily's confidence has come back. She knows now that her worth isn't determined by how others treat her, and that her parents will always fight for her. I don't regret what I did. Some people have told me I went too far, that I should have handled it privately. But here's the truth. People like Vanessa only change when they're forced to face the consequences of their actions. She'd been getting away with treating people like they didn't matter for years. Someone had to hold up a mirror. Did I ruin my parents' vow renewal? Maybe. But they got to renew their vows and celebrate their love. What happened afterward was a result of Vanessa's choices, not mine. The biggest lesson I've learned through all of this is that standing up for yourself and the people you love is never wrong. Even when it's messy. Even when it hurts. Even when the whole world tells you to keep quiet and keep the peace. Sometimes keeping the peace means enabling cruelty. And I'm done with that. Lily asked me a few weeks ago if Aunt Vanessa would ever apologize. I told her the truth, I don't know. But whether she does or not, we're going to be okay. Because we have each other. And that's more than enough. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to stand up to a family member who treated you unfairly? How did it turn out? I read every single comment and I'd love to hear your story. Remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.